Hello. Today on Cooking with the Iron Maiden, I'm going to show you how easy it is to make homemade English muffins. They're so much better than the ones you can buy in the store. So let's go over our ingredients. We'll use 2 tablespoons of sugar, 4 cups of flour, a teaspoon and a half of salt, 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 package of yeast, and I like to use the rapid rise yeast because that lets me do everything all in one step. A cup of milk, I've got 2%, but you can use whole or 1%, 1 egg, and a 1/4 cup of water. You'll also need a little bit of cornmeal for sprinkling on the surface while you're working. So I've already microwaved my milk for just under 2 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and add the butter, the sugar, and the salt and stir that up in there so that that melts a little. So let's see, 2 tablespoons of sugar and a teaspoon and a half. So we've got a teaspoon and a half of salt, and we'll just stir that up. And we're going to go ahead and add our 1/4 cup of water in there as well. And I'll just stir that a minute until the sugar and salt dissolve. While that butter is melting, I'm going to also grease my bowl so that'll be ready for me. You need to use a generous amount of grease in the bottom of the bowl so that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the dough in here and then I'm going to turn it so that the top gets coated. And the grease keeps the top of the surface of the bread from getting dry and getting a skin forming on it. So our bowl is ready. Oh, and I've also got a clean towel to put over the bread for rising. So I've already put 4 cups of flour in my mixer, and I'm going to add the package of yeast to that. And we'll put on our dough hook. It is best to use a dough hook for this. And let's just give that a quick stir, make sure that's all melted or dissolved. Butter's close enough to melt it. And I'm going to beat this egg real quick before I mix it in. I always recommend breaking your egg into a bowl by itself so that if you drop any shells or anything, they're much easier to get out that way. So I'm just going to give this a little mix to mix up the flour and the yeast, and I'm going to pour in all of my ingredients. So just getting all of that egg in there, and make sure everything's out of there. So that now that everything's in there, we're going to turn this on at a slow speed, and we're going to let it mix for about 1 minute until the ingredients are combined. And then once everything's combined, we'll turn up the speed and let it knead for a couple of minutes. Okay, you can see the flour is getting all mixed up in there. Once the flour is all into the dough, we're going to turn it up a little bit and we're going to let it knead itself for about 5 minutes. It's important to stay near your mixer when you do this. It can start to walk on the counter. And while the dough might look a little sticky to start with, once you get it kneaded good, it's going to be a lot smoother. So if you look at the dough now, you can see that it looks kind of sticky in there. That's going to change after about 5 minutes of kneading. So I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes and I'll see you back here. Okay, you can see, one, that the mixer wants to walk around, so that's why you need to stay next to it. But you can also see that the dough is starting to come away from the sides of the bowl. It's nice and smooth now. It's no longer sticky. So you can see the dough is no longer sticky. It's nice and smooth there. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off and move this over to our work surface. See how it all comes away in nice one big piece. When you knead it, you work the gluten in the bread. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little flour on my work surface here and put the dough on that. Okay, we've gotten all the dough out of the bowl, and I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on my hand and just give it another quick turn. It's a nice soft dough, smooth. It's pretty, but it's kind of soft. If you see, it's going to want to stretch, but that's okay. So I'm going to take the dough and I'm going to put it in the bowl here, and I'm going to smush it down a little bit because I want to get some of that grease from the bottom of the bowl on the top of the dough, and then I'm going to turn the dough over and smush it down. So I've got grease on the top of the dough. That's going to keep it from getting a skin on the top of the dough. I'm going to cover it with my clean towel, and I'm going to let this set at least half an hour to an hour. It's going to double or rise some in size, and then we're going to come back and we'll shape our English muffins and let them rise again. So I'll see you back here in about a half an hour or 45 minutes. All right, our dough has risen. It's ready to be punched down and shaped into English muffins. Before I start doing that, though, I'm going to get my cutting boards ready here. So I'm going to take and I'm going to sprinkle a little cornmeal on these cutting boards, and I'm going to set the English muffins after I shape them on these to rise. The cornmeal is going to keep them from sticking. I'm going to make 12 English muffins, so you want a little bit of, I usually find 2 cutting boards is good. You can use a baking sheet, you can put these on whatever you want. Just make sure, like I said, you sprinkle them with a little bit of cornmeal so that the English muffins won't stick to the surface. So that's all prepped. I've got my dough here, it's nicely risen. I'm going to go ahead and punch it down. And you're going to divide this into 12 equal portions. Now, since I have a scale, I like to make use of it, so I'm going to put this on the scale and weigh it out to help divide it up. So it weighs 930 kilograms, so I'm just going to divide that by 12. So 930 divided by 12 gives me about 77, 78 grams per English muffin. So we'll just measure out chunks of dough that size. So it's probably a little small. So they're about this size, and as you measure out each one, you're just going to shape it into a quick ball. So I'm just going to kind of grab it from the sides and push in with my thumb from the other side, just kind of roll it into itself. So I'm pulling up on the sides and pushing in from the front and rolling it into itself to make a ball shape. And then I will flatten these out to make my English muffins. I'm going to take each one of these and give them a smush, and we'll give them another smush before we're done. So I'm just going to keep shaping these. Oops. And again, you can eyeball these. You don't have to be this exact. I just, you know, if you got a scale, though, it's something to use it for. You might as well use your tools if you have them. So measure out the dough, shape it into a little ball. And each time I just also turn it a little bit with each shaping, you know, and that helps to work that shape. So I do a quick turn, a pull, and a push. And I'll keep a little flour here on my work surface and smush each one. And I'm going to kind of line them up so that when I come back to them, I can work on them in order. So let's see, it's probably a little much. Let's see. Okay. So make a ball, turn and smush. So I'm turning it, I'm starting down here low and taking this thumb and pushing it up and pushing the dough into itself. And as you do these, they'll be quicker and easier to do. And then I'll take the dough and give it a smush. So I'm just going to keep repeating this until I have 12 English muffins made or rolled out. Okay, we've got all of our English muffins rolled out. Now the dough, the first ones have relaxed a little bit. The dough gets a little stretchy or elastic as you work it. So the first one's relaxed a little bit. So I can take and roll these out to about 4 to 5 inches. I'm just using a glass here. Make sure if you use a glass, you make sure you use a sturdy glass. You don't want a really thin or fragile one, and you don't want to press too hard. But and you could also use a rolling pin, whatever's handy, but just roll them out a little bit. Roll them in each direction. And you want them about 4 to 5 inches across, fairly even and level. This has a little measuring gauge on it, so let's see, there, 4 inches there. So after you roll them out, you're going to take and you're just going to set them on your prepared tray or baking sheet or cutting board that you've already put the cornmeal on. So I'll take my next one, and again, keep a little flour on your work surface, and we'll just give him a little roll, and you roll in all directions, and we'll roll him out to about 4 inches again. And we'll set him on the cutting board, and we'll just keep working until we've rolled out all 12 of these. And then what we do is we're going to let them rise for 45 minutes to an hour until they're doubled in size. They're fairly thin right now. They're probably only about a 1/4 inch thick. They'll rise up to about a 1/2 inch. And then we'll actually be baking these on a griddle on the top of our stove. So I'm just working these in the same order that I rolled them out. That way they've had a chance to relax. And we're just rolling out our last one here. So we've got 12 English muffins all rolled out. I'm going to go ahead and cover them with a clean towel, and we're going to let them set on the counter here for at least 45 minutes to an hour, or until they've doubled in size. So they're, 1/4 inch high right now. We'll wait till they're about a 1/2 inch high. So I'll see you back here in about an hour so we can bake them on our griddle. Our English muffins have risen. I'm going to grab my first tray and move it over here. I've got my skillet. It's preheated. I've got it on the very lowest heat setting. You really want a low temperature for these English muffins. If it's too high, they'll burn on you. So we're only at about probably 290, 300 degrees. That's a good temperature. I'm going to take and I'm going to put 4 English muffins very gently on the skillet. And I'm going to set a timer for 7 minutes. They're going to cook for 7 minutes on each side. And what I'm going to do is after 3 or 4 minutes, I'm actually going to rotate these 180 degrees to help ensure even browning. Otherwise, the centers will be a little more brown than the edge areas. So I'm just going to wait for my timer to go down a few minutes. Then we'll rotate these, cook them a few more minutes, and flip them. Okay, it's been about 3.5 minutes, and what I'm going to do is gently grasp each one of these and rotate it 180 degrees. Be careful, you don't want to collapse your dough. And if you notice, these do puff up a little bit more while they're baking. So I'm just going to spin each of them 180 degrees, and that's going to help ensure that they brown evenly. And we'll just wait for the timer to finish cooking, and then we'll turn them off or turn them over and cook the other side. Now, if you notice these are starting to smoke a little bit, that can be a sign that your temperature is a little bit too high. If you see that, just simply turn off the burner, wait 1 minute, and turn it back on. The cast iron skillet's going to retain some heat. Okay, it's been 7 minutes. I'm going to very gently turn these over. Again, you want to be gentle so that they don't collapse on you. The one side is still uncooked. So we'll just turn these over very gently. And we're going to set a timer for another 7 minutes. And again, after 3 to 4 minutes, I'll go ahead and I'll rotate them 180 again, and that will help ensure that they brown nicely and evenly. And then we'll put them on our cooling rack to cool a little bit. I do like or recommend a cooling rack. It keeps them from getting wet. If you just put them right on a plate or something, then you get moisture underneath the bottom, and that's not nice. So put them on the cooling rack to finish cooling. So I'll see you back in about 3 minutes. It's been about 3.5 minutes. So once again, I'm going to grab each of these gently and rotate them 180 degrees to help ensure even browning. And we'll let them finish cooking. And if you notice, these have risen up really nice. The heat from the skillet will activate the yeast and make them rise a little more while they're cooking. So we'll let these finish cooking, and then they'll be ready to take off. Okay, it's been 7 minutes on the other side. You can see our English muffins look beautiful. I'm just going to put them right on the cooling rack here. And we'll let these cool a little bit while we start our second batch. So again, you'll notice that they do rise a little bit while they're cooking. Let's get these going. Now, it is best to let these cool down a little bit before you try and eat them. They are, of course, best split and toasted. So let me just set my timer for 7 minutes. They work great with a little butter and jam, wonderful for hamburger rolls, eggs Benedict, wherever you like your English muffins. So I'm just going to finish cooking up the rest of them. 1 dozen English muffins ready to be split and toasted. You can serve them with butter and jam. They make great hamburger buns, eggs Benedict, or whatever you want for your English muffins. These are also really nice. You can put them in the freezer, which you're not going to eat today. So take out a handful for your family for today and put the rest in the freezer, and then you can just pull them out and let them thaw as you're ready to use them. We hope that you've enjoyed today's recipe of English muffins and baking with the Iron Maiden. If so, please like and subscribe to this channel for more good cooking with the Iron Maiden. Happy baking!